Ladies and gentlemen, coming to you live from Miami, Florida. Right now, we got Brad DeMint here. Brad, how are things coming along over there in Florida?
Man, things are going great, my brother. Things are going great. I'm just loving life and loving what I do every day.
Alrighty. So I'm gonna let Brad brag about himself a little bit now. And I wanted to be able to bring him on because Brad has tremendous value. See, Brad DeMint's a young entrepreneur. Me and him are around the same age, just about. And he is somebody that's constantly shaking hands. He's someone that can definitely teach you how to sell better. He's someone that can teach you how to build relationships. He's someone that's very authentic when you meet him. And he's also very kind. So, Brad, I mean, there's a bunch of questions that I want to ask you. What are some of the things that you'd want to share, if for people, so that you can brag about yourself a little bit, so people can know you get me about you? I know that you're always having amazing people on your podcast. I messaged you before. Now that I was starting this one, and I texted you. I mean, brag about yourself a little bit.
Well, I appreciate all the kind words, man. And it's funny you're saying brag about yourself a little bit.
That's a
You
good thing.
know,
It's a good
um,
thing.
I'm a very humble guy, but one thing I'd say is that I am 20 years old, and one of the main reasons why I say that is because you're not too young to start anything, right? I'm on a mission. I'm constantly learning and growing
Right.
every single day, and I think that some people don't understand. Some people think that they're too young. They have limiting beliefs, and
Absolutely.
I crushed my limiting beliefs at 17. I walked on fire at a Tony Robbins event and, just started to get into the sales world. I got, right now I'm in the title insurance business. That's my plan to be,
Hmm.
crushing it in real estate and title. And I just love what I'm doing. I'm passionate about what I'm doing. And I love selling, man. And I'm glad you had me on your show.
All right, Brad. Well, I'm happy to have you on the show. I'm gonna ask you a couple of quick questions because I think already of you as somebody that is successful. All right, I don't know how many books you read. I know that you're a well-read guy. I know we both are on the same mastermind with Brad Lea, with the Closer School. Right. I know we're both hustling and we're both shaking hands all the time. Earl Nightingale had a quote where it says, "Success is the worthy realization of a progression towards a goal." Now, a lot of the time we'll have that, you get me, and you'll think, you get me, okay, well, maybe I got mentored by, you get me, one of the Wolf of Wall Street previous colleagues, and he taught me about the straight line system. Fantastic, right? But if a lot of the time when you don't see that on Instagram or on social media, that could be a small win, but another person, you get me, aside from us, because you have tremendous wins yourself, you get me, they just don't give themselves credit for that positive feedback. Let's say Brad, you get me, meets, you get me, Forbe Riley, and I think that's freaking badass. Somebody else could be like, oh well, you get me, I'm not going to give myself credit for that. But Brad is confident enough to say, you know what, I'm going to give myself credit for this. I worked for this. This is something that I can appreciate. Let me work towards the next thing immediately so I could get more things done with the time that I have now. The more I get done, the more I can get done, right? Right. So Brad, I mean, what are some of the things you'd share with young guys out there that are trying to chase their dreams? Because I'm always shouting on my channel, but this show is about you right now.
Hey, yeah, I'd say, and not just young guys, really anyone that's going out there chasing their dreams. Um, I mentioned earlier about not limiting your beliefs. That's something I'm really passionate about. And, I really think, if you guys ever listen to my podcast, I've connected with a lot of
Great
people.
podcast.
And, the biggest thing I'd say is don't limit your beliefs and then also take action and think big, right? I'm huge on thinking big because a lot of people think too small. They're afraid to take action. They're afraid to do something because they think they're going to fail. And like I always say, sometimes you have to fail to win. So that's really the advice that I'd give to anybody that just wants to just get out there is just take action. Don't be afraid to fail and just keep moving forward. Think big.
What are some of the failures that maybe you don't talk about as much, but have built your character and have turned into stepping stones for your success as you're beginning to, you get me, become a multimillionaire now, and all your other goals that you're successfully achieving yourself, DeMint,
One thing that I would
on the show.
say. So I have a quote: "Trust the process, but don't waste your time." Right. And I remember back when I was in the job I was working for before I'm doing what I was doing now. I used to be a store manager of a phone store. Right.
Hmm.
And when I came up with the quote, "Trust the process, but don't waste your time," I was at a point in my life where, I was comfortable. I was making good money, but I was very comfortable. You know, I didn't love what I was doing, but and I was doing good, but I wasn't taking any action to move to the next step of where I really wanted to be, where my goals were.
Right.
Um, so I would kind of consider that a failure because I was like, what do you say, complacent, right? I was sitting there every single day doing the same thing every single day.
Until then.
Exactly. So that's when I came up with that quote, trust the process, but don't waste your time. And what that means is basically if
Right.
you got to trust the process, right? But if you're not spending your time bettering yourself, you're not getting towards your goals, and you're just going to be patient. See, patience is important, but not if you're not
That's right.
going towards your goals.
You got to
So
work
I
on
would
it.
say that that point in my life, I was trusting the process, but I was wasting my time. So that's something that I learned, and I actually made a podcast about it right when I was kind of going through it, and it helped me get through that point in my life. And
Cool, cool, cool.
just things fell in place, and I ended up doing some things to get to that next step, and I live my life that way now. So I guess that would be kind of a failure that I've had, and it's just really I love using setbacks as rocket fuel. I
Right.
love just my good friend Mike Sirocco wrote a book about that, and it's just so important.
Okay. Okay. I want to pick your brain a little bit because having that kind of been rocket fuel for you to be able to kind of just like traject and ignite you to be able to get to exactly where it is that you want to get to, whatever that part is now and where you're going, right? Because you're very successful now. You have a high degree of ethics. People can trust you in the title business, right? And they can bring customers to you, and you specialize in that. I do want to ask you a couple of quick questions that are targeted because you're amazing at networking. I've told you that before. I've complimented you, I think, a bunch of times because I'm just confident enough to compliment you, Brad. It's cool with me, dog. And I, what are some of the things that you do to build relationships with others? I know that we always shake hands with people, right? I know that we're constantly, how you say, more hands we shake, the more money we make. Let's make introductions. Let's go for the relationship, right? Brad Lea is our master trainer, multimillionaire. We got him a mastermind called him every Tuesday. Not everybody gets to pick his brain. We get to pick his brain. It's really interesting. And I have Brad right now. We're picking his brain. This is really, really cool. So I mean, what are some of the things you do to build all these relationships with people? Because you constantly have people on your podcast. Not only that, but you're constantly building relationships in the real world. Do you do it the same? Is it a little bit different, the two ways that you do it? I know you have a tremendous amount of value that a lot of other guys probably wouldn't be able to crack because I don't know, maybe they're not in the game, maybe in the sidelines, maybe they want to jump in the game, maybe they want to get better, right? This is why we have a win with Brad DeMint today. I know
Yeah.
he's
So
serving others.
networking is so important, right? Because if you guys master sales, but you don't have anybody to sell to, it's not going to really work, right? So I figured that out. And one of the best things I could give you guys for advice for networking is you can use a lot of different things as networking events, right? Networking is not just going to a networking event that's called a networking event. I would say get more involved in your neighborhood, get more involved and even politics, right? Like I don't love politics, but I get involved in some political things because it's good networking, right? And I always try my best whenever I'm in a room. I try to meet every single person and build a relationship with them. I don't go straight for the sale, right? Because I'm focused on the relationship. We have the same mentor, Brad Lea,
It's
and
badass.
Brad Lea, you've probably watched me and him role play before, and and
Pretty
he's role
badass,
play,
man.
I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure with you too. And
Man,
it's always about the relationship. Sales is a relationship game, okay? Especially what I do in the title business. I'm building relationships with realtors, mortgage people, right? I'm always just building relationship. If people like me, they do business with me. No matter what you're selling, if people like you, they're going to do business with you, right? Or at least if you build that relationship. So, I actually, one thing I like to do is I always like to educate myself of what's going on.
right.
One of my favorite ways to build
Absolutely.
rapport is through sports. Okay.
Of
That's something
course.
that I do a lot. I love sports, something I'm very passionate about. I live in St. Pete, Florida. So, we have a lot of good teams here, like the Rays and the Tampa Bay Bucks and stuff, and the Lightning and stuff like that. Um, I always like to know what's going on in sports. And that's just one thing that I've personally done. And it's always a good conversation starter, but always figure out what that person's thinking. Put yourself in their shoes, right? Listen more than you speak, right? But that's something that I would definitely give advice on is know things, have something that's your go-to conversation and see what people, how they react to that. And then listen to what they say and then use the conversation that way. But always try to meet the most people you can in the room because, just like our good mentor, Brad Lea says, And
It's
my
badass.
friend Brad Lea says, the more hands you shake, the more money you make. That can't be more true than anything else.
What it is, man. I have another quick question for you. Do you have any go-to lines that you use? You get me when you open somebody up. I know that we take an approach that's typically like you get me. It's just very in the moment, and we'll kind of look for something that's around you, and we'll build a situation opener, and we'll open. You get me, and we'll go into whatever it is that we're gonna do at that moment, our introduction. You get me, and allow them to talk about themselves based off criteria. You get me that they want to talk about because they're gonna tell us that. You get me. They want to talk about sales. Are there any like things that you do specifically that you go to, for example, like something that I'll say, I usually just say, hey, Jack, hey, John, hey, Brad, hey, Debbie, and yeah, I mean, I'll usually use a situation opener myself, but I'll say, hey, this or hey, that, and I'll usually look for something that they're wearing, something that they're seeing. You get me? If I'm looking at their Instagram, and I'll try to build a relationship off what I see there. I'll look at all their values, the submodalities of those values, the submodalities of those beliefs, what it means to them, and then what it means to under them, and then what it really, really, really means to them. At derivative point right there in their motivation, and I'll talk to them like that. So, are there any things that you specifically do that are like openers that you enjoy when you're working with people? You get me, that have improved. You get me your rate of success, because you're savvy. Because we're both very savvy. You get me, and I have you on the show because a lot of people can learn from you. It's a treat. It's a delight.
Yeah, man, I love that. And you just mentioned a lot of good points of things you can do. I always, like I said earlier, I love to put myself in their shoes. Like, what are they thinking, right? So I always am prepared when I go into something, right? Whenever I'm going to say something, but I'll even I love when you go to an event and somebody has their networking, or when you go to like a networking event and somebody has their name tag on, or even on a Zoom call, they'll have their name at the bottom.
My name's Debbie.
One thing I would always do, and actually my dad taught me this because my dad's one of my biggest mentors in my life, and I would look at someone's name tag and always use somebody's name. And I would say their name, be like, "Hey, Jim, how's it going, man? Good to see you." And then it'd be like, and then like, it's so funny because even if they if they don't know you, like they'll be like, "Oh yeah, good to see you." Like, just kidding, I've never met you before, but like, how you doing today? Just, I always like to use humor in it, right? Something like that.
That's nice.
But I always, just like you said, focus on something, even if you like their shirt, something like that to build.
Like your shirt, Brad. It's nice little polo. I'm sure a lot of females, when you walk by, you'll tell them, "Hey, hey, Cassandra, how you doing today?" And she'll be like, "I'm doing good. What's up?" I like that pants. I like those pants. I usually like red though, but you can rock those. I mean, what made you want to get those? And then boom, she'll go off and
then
now
they
she's
start
chasing
talking.
you.
They start talking, and it makes it a lot better, right? Because when you're listening in sales, when you get the other person talking, people love to talk about themselves, and I know that that's pretty basic to most salespeople, but some people might not realize that people
I don't
love
think
to
it's so
talk.
basic though, because like I mean, like this is common stuff to us. Because I mean, we're constantly studying. Like you've studied Grant Cardone stuff. You get me? Have you gone to Cardone University by any chance? I know you've read his books. I know you.
Yeah, I have actually done Cardone
Good.
University. Brad Lea and Grant Cardone are some guys that I've
They're good.
constantly been just studying their content. Tony Robbins too.
Tony Robbins is great.
And all three of those guys talk about these things. And you're right. Sometimes I forget some of the things that I've learned. Not the average person knows, but that's what
Absolutely.
We're doing this podcast right now, right? Because we want to take the knowledge from the people who have it to the people that need it, right? And I know I just took Brad Lee's thing there, but it's because that's true. That's what we're really trying to do.
Hey man, you said it pretty good, man. But it's good to give him credit. Yeah.
The whole point of personal development is to take knowledge from a long period of time and shorten it. So that's what we're doing here. So even if it's might sound a little basic to us, there's somebody out there that's like, you know what? People do love to talk about themselves, right? And that's why I love doing the podcast, man. That's why I'm so excited to see a guy like you starting a podcast, because
Thanks, Brad.
it's
I liked your podcast first, by the way. I did. Yours was awesome. I was like, oh my god, I got to do something like this. This guy's like, we're around the same age. I like his website. His kid's fucking kicking ass. I'm like, all right.
Well, I'm glad you started the podcast because I'm glad you started the podcast, man, because so many people are afraid just to start the podcast, right? I remember when I first started my podcast, people were like, "How'd you do that? How'd you start that podcast?" And I'm like,
"Brad, how'd you do it, man?"
I figured it out. I Googled, you know what I did? I used this magic tool called google.com, and I looked up, how do you start a podcast?
It is magical.
Right? And, but back to sales stuff, man, it's really about connecting with the other person, right? People have such a bad, they think salespeople are just bad people. They think they're con artists. And there's a difference between a conman and a salesman, right? We're honest as salespeople. We build trust.
Professionals.
That's what we do, man. I'm so important. Building trust is so important. I find that one of the most important things in a sale. People have to trust you. People have to know that when they're doing business with you, you want what's best for them, right? And I, really try to do that the best that I can. My podcast is called Win with Brad DeMint, but on Instagram, my name is Win with Brad DeMint too, because I feel when people are doing business with
You guys
me,
can check them out.
they're winning with me. Okay. And I have that mentality because I know that people can trust me, and I know that I love to just genuinely help people. So that's something advice I'd give you guys too is focus on the relationship and focus on building trust and put yourself in their shoes.
All right. Brad, is there anything that you want to say? Because I don't want to make it too long, but I mean, I'm sure we could have you on all day because I know you could be able to chat. I know you're going to be able to share things, and I know a lot of people can learn with you. Is there anything that you want to riff raft? You got me kind of on your own. I know we've gone through openers. I know we've gone through pretty much how to be able to build relationships. To first fix it with yourself. Let's, start building trust with other people. What is the most valuable thing we can do or offer them, right? And have them, come through us. We could do that through testimonials. We can be able to do that. You got me through a podcast with another credible individual that is sharing his credibility with you, right? And we're kind of doing that with each other because we're both young guys, but you got me. When other people know us personally in our network, right? They know us personally, and it's like, okay, cool. And we have that collaboration that we did. Now, all these people that I know now know Brad DeMint, and, vice versa. And this show's about you right now. I mean, is there anything that you kind of want to riff raff? You get me? I know we've talked a lot about strategies to get me in building networks. I know we've talked a lot about going to events. I know we've talked a lot about meeting people in the room, right? And I like the opener that you used as well. And I know we talked about you get me taking action and not being scared, you get me, of some of the things you've done in the past. Because a lot of the time people will be crippled by fear. The thing is that the time is going to continue to pass, like you said, and like Earl Nightingale also says a lot of the time. And the thing with that is that if you just took 1 hour a day, okay, 1 hour a day, in 7 years, you're going to be one of the best people in the world if you keep studying your craft. So when you do that, you get me, much the way that we do it, the way I do it, the way you do it, it's stuff that a lot of the time other people could change their life. Because in those 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, they can become incredibly wealthy in whatever area they want to become wealthy in, right? And they're crippled by fear a lot of the time, and they just don't start. It could be a podcast or any other ideas you get me that come to mind now as they do. Can you imagine that? Is there anything that you kind of want to leave people off with? You get me, as some final words, along with all the value that you've already brought and contributed, that people should be grateful, by the way. I know I'm happy to always connect with you and chat with you, but a lot of the guys that are on here that don't have access to Brad DeMint, that are definitely going to look him up if they're intelligent individuals that are tuning into this, and they're probably pretty sharp because they stayed through the end of it and they wanted to learn, and they have free, valuable information that guys have paid thousands of dollars to be able to acquire. Tested in the field, you get me, have made $1,000 mistakes, maybe even $100,000 mistakes, right? And have gotten better throughout the process of doing that. Get me, just real life experience. So, is there anything that you kind of want to, you get me, say, this one being your segment, your show, that you kind of want to riff raft, you get me, kind of leaving these guys with some final words, and then they can, reach out to you right now, as they did.
Yeah. One thing I want to add too, because I feel like a lot of people in sales listen to your podcast. I
A
talked
lot of
about this
friends.
before on someone else's podcast, and it was sales is like a game, right? It's like a puzzle you're trying to figure out. And when I get an objection, sometimes I just smile because it's like, let's uncover it, right? Let's figure out how to uncover this objection, how we can win and close the deal. Um, and I think people take things too seriously sometimes, man. And I think that the biggest thing is to have fun with what you're doing, right? And if you're passionate about what you sell, it doesn't even feel like it's a job, you know? And,
Right.
I literally, I have fun with selling. I have fun helping people. And whatever it is, guys, if there's something that you are passionate about, find what that is. Keep trying things to figure out what you're passionate about. And don't forget to have fun while you're doing it.
All right. So a lot of you guys right now, with some final words that Brad's going to take really good care of you in any kind of business that you're in. He could. Brad, don't you do coaching for sales as well? What are some of your services? I know you do title insurance. I was going to recommend that right now with you. I know I'm going to be trusting Brad a lot with the business that I'm bringing him now. Um, how are some of the things that you get me people you could if they were to reach out to you, could be of value? I know you have a tremendous podcast that a lot of people would enjoy going through, right? What are some other things that you do so that people have the skinny on it as they look you up, and now that they know that you're somebody they can trust, somebody they can connect with, somebody they can bring business to, right? As a professional, and they be able to connect with you more. If they want to shake more hands themselves
Yeah, man.
and
So
build a relationship.
So definitely, I'm obviously in the title business. I work for Greenleaf Title. So if anybody listens to this podcast, if they're in real estate or do mortgages or know somebody that does real estate or mortgages, we can definitely help you out. Title insurance, by the way, if you don't know, is basically just to make sure that, everything's good with the property, everything's good to close. There's no liens, everything's clear on the title. So that's what I do. I'm the title guy. Even if you're selling your house for sale by owner, you need a title company. Anywhere in Florida is where I do business. I also have my podcast where I just, provide as much value as I can, have some awesome guests on there, and just, share is my winning strategies that I've learned in life. And I coach people as well too. So if you ever want to reach out to me, just follow me on Instagram, Win with Brad DeMint. All my other social media is just Brad DeMint. And I love connecting with people. And, I love when people reach out to me and just ask me anything that's on their mind, whether it be something you're dealing with in sales, in life, whatever it is. I'd love to just help you win in every area of your life.
All right. All right, guys. You guys could look up Brad DeMint. Brad, I have a quick question myself. I'm doing this through Zoom right now. We're on a Zoom call, and I was going to give you the audio. It says pause, stop recording. If I click that, I'm not sure if you know this. If you don't, I'm going to look it up right now either way. But do you know if and this is totally fine, by the way. People like this. If I stop recording, does that still save the video? If I like exit, does it
If
save
you
the
press
video still?
stop, it records the video. Yeah.
It does.
So if you
Okay.
press pause, it won't stop it. But if you press stop, it'll stop the video.
But it'll save it though. I'm sure people that can appreciate this because it's just
Once you
fucking,
end
it's
the
real.
Zoom, yeah, once you end the Zoom call, it'll let you save it. So if any of you guys are recording on Zoom, there's a quick lesson at the end when you press
It's
stop.
awesome. We got the on the show today.
You might think you didn't record it, but once you get out of it, it works. That was one thing that I love about 2020 is we learned how to use Zoom, and it's definitely a pretty
Yeah, I
effective
started using
thing
social media more.
in business and just in life. Well, thanks so much for having me on, brother. It was great. It was great being on your show.
Brad, it was really awesome having you. Thanks for stopping by. I hope we look to have you again in the future, maybe.
Sounds
Most
good,
likely
bro.
will. Have a great rest of your day, Brad.
Great.
Take care, buddy. All right, Brad. So I click pause, stop. I'm gonna edit this, by the way, afterwards. This
Just
last
press
part.
stop. Just press
Okay.
stop.